Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to another All Hands on Deck. I'm Katherine McBean, and wow, where do we start? I plan to do a podcast today anyway, first one in ages, because I've seen a lot of people struggling at the moment, and I get that. I can completely understand that. And I was very much going to focus on kind of management techniques, if you like. How do you work on yourself to manage what's going on? How do you cope with your own emotions? How do you react properly? And not allow our emotions to overtake us, because it is a rocky ride for a lot of people when they're earlier on in their awakening. I mean, there's no sort of getting away from that. But of course, last night, a massive amount of Epstein files were dropped, and they're thoroughly being searched through right now by people across the world. And I remember posting, goodness me, back in 2020, on my previous account that was taken down, that in order to be effective, we'd need to see a convergence of truth at the same time. So you've got this huge monopoly of mainstream media and their cohorts who will want to control a narrative rollout. That'll be how it goes. However, if you throw a number of truth bomb drops at the same time out into the world and make a few of them pretty major, it's then very, very difficult for the mainstream to stay on top of. And I think what will roll out now will be pretty swift. And I think that's why. I think we need the convergence. And I think that's what we're seeing the start of now. Because if you think on top of the Epstein files, what's happened in the last few years? Well, people are starting to understand the truth about Israel. It was a topic no one ever wanted to tap into. Believe you me, when I did it 10 years ago, I was almost crucified. People, apps, that's probably the thing I received some of the most abuse over was my position on Israel. But people are starting to see the truth of that now and what that looks like and what has impacted our history because of it. And we'll go into a little bit of detail on that today. I don't know how long this might be. Once again, Katherine is at her best as a professional podcaster and has literally prepared nothing. So, as always, I fly by the seat of my pants, and what rolls out of my mouth is unfortunately just what rolls out of my mouth. So, we've seen the truth coming out on Israel. We see the banking system very wobbly right now. The dollar's gone through there. Well, obviously there was a resurgence yesterday on some things, but it's only going to go one way now. Gold and silver, precious metals are going to win, and they're going to destroy the fiat system, the fiat banking system. So that's all underway, and people are starting to see that now. They're starting to feel that. Interestingly, another little Ukrainian rent boy popped up after Keir Starmer yesterday. That's very interesting timing. And people are becoming a lot more aware about the truth around COVID, hugely more aware. That is growing exponentially, and so it must continue. And then we can look at a number of different topics that are being, the truth is coming out. And there's so many of them at the moment that it's almost difficult to remember everything that's going on. And certain things get shelved, but they will come back around. Believe you me, it's not been lost. It is a process. And I think the first thing everybody needs to understand, and I've been there for the last few years, like, can we please hurry up? Can we please get on with this? I don't care what the fallout looks like. But actually, in reality, in order to avoid societal collapse, the normies, for want of a better term, need to be slowly shaken from their slumber. They do, because otherwise it's going to be brutal on all of us. So you can take a very selfish stance with this. If you don't give a monkeys about what's going on with the normies or what their impact will be, just remember, we would all be impacted by their response. And this is a time for those that have known for some time and had time to digest and process the horrific crimes committed against children. It's down to us to support others. But anyway, we'll get to that. So let's crack through what I think is going on. So we're seeing a lot of people come out and saying, oh, see, Trump's in the Epstein files, Trump's bad, Trump's this. I don't believe that. I've never believed that. I could pick a million holes in Donald Trump, quite easily sit here because I am quite critical of him and others, because I'm being honest. But I don't for 1 minute think he's been doing anything to children. I don't. If people bother to do their research, they'd realize that many, many years ago, Trump was the only person in an investigation into Jeffrey Epstein who went to the police before being asked and banned Jeffrey Epstein from his resorts and hotels because he got a whisper that Epstein was taking an underage girl in there. He went to the police with that, and then he was called in to testify against, well, I say testify, to give evidence or report against Epstein, and he was the only one who physically went to the police station to do it. People are saying, oh, it's because he's trying to avoid war with Iran. That doesn't make any sense. That does not make any sense. Why would he have his DOJ drop the Epstein files, which absolutely incriminate Israel, hugely incriminate Israel? None of that makes sense. I'm afraid if you're on the bash Trump bandwagon, I think you might be wrong. Not an angel, not saying he's perfect. Like I say, could pick some holes there. But on this one, nah, doesn't make sense. There's no logical sense in it. I mean, I think one of the ultimate goals is to take Israel, or to certainly reveal the truth about Israel. And people have never understood my position on this. One, I really truly looked at my history of how Israel came to be, what Zionism was doing before Israel, what happened with their relationship with Adolf Hitler, what you've been told about World War II. It's not all true. When you look back at, so don't get me wrong, let me just state from the start, I'm no Hitler fan. I can see a lot of the bad things that he got himself wrapped up in, and we all have to take responsibility for our own actions. So I'm not going to stand here and defend him by any stretch of the imagination. Far from it. However, the truth is the truth, whether people like it or not. Tough shit. It's the truth. You can fight it all you want, but history will be revealed. And for those who are quite new to this and unaware of kind of some of the issues surrounding World War II, is Hitler came to power because he wanted to get rid of the Rothschild banking system. He wanted to economically revive Germany, their industry, their military. And guess what he did? And one of the first things he did was clear up the Weimar Republic. Now, the Weimar Republic, so after World War One, it was devastated, absolutely devastated economically, and for so many other reasons. And unfortunately, what I call the Jewish mafia kind of took over the area, and they introduced child pornography, they introduced drugs, they introduced child prostitution, as well as other prostitution, the transvestite, if you like, ethos was very much alive and kicking in the Weimar Republic. They tried to eradicate religion, like Christian religion, and it was being led by the usual Jewish mafia and their cohorts, and it was destroying Germany. And Hitler came in and he absolutely changed that. And one of his main goals, initially, so I think he probably started off with the best intentions, and things went awry. And believe you me, our sides, the Allies, we were no good either. We were just as disgusting. And if people think Winston Churchill was this savior, oh, so much to come out. We're not going to do a full history lesson here, but I want people to understand kind of where this Jewish mafia influenced World War One, World War Two, Bolshevik Revolution, all of the other things, to lead to the point where we're at now, where they're the ones that are running the likes of your Epsteins and the whole blackmail operation. It's predominantly, and don't get me wrong, the British have been involved, the Americans have been involved, but in terms of who's running the ops, it's predominantly coming from the Mossad, which is very much Israel. And again, don't get me wrong, England, we have a lot to answer for, and it's coming. And that's fine. Again, the truth is the truth, whether you like it or not. But the truth is what the world needs right now, because how can we go on to accept? We've got to go through the grieving process. I mean, a load of us have already done that. Some of you are in the middle of that, and others have yet to come, because you have to get to the stage of acceptance. And then once you've gone through the acceptance and the grief of it, it's okay. What do we do next? And the building of the new is what will come next. So it's important that we do go through this very dark, difficult phase. And the normies are going to be walloped with this. It's going to be, I think, probably handled as gently as it can be to avoid societal collapse. But there is no moving forward for the rest of us until we see the truth coming out, we see justice starting to be served, and we're empowered enough to be able to start building the new and putting our country back together. So anyway, all these files started dropping last night, and we are going to see into the depths of the evil. A lot of people are really shocked this morning looking online. There's a lot of kind of open mouth, absolute devastation in people who weren't really aware. of how severe the Epstein files would be, and there's still more to come. And I'd suggest that some of those are linked to ongoing prosecutions. So the depravity, the evil, the, it's just disgusting what has been done in the name of Satan. Fundamentally, remember these people. So when us Anons back in 2017 were saying actually the world's run by paedophile Satanists, we weren't lying, and the world's going to realize that now. We weren't lying. I mean, some of these guys probably aren't paedophiles in and of themselves that are behind the screen and waving director's wand. They possibly aren't, but doesn't matter. You facilitated it in order to achieve what you wanted to achieve, and you are just as evil, if not maybe slightly more so, because some of these guys, I'm in no doubt that their children's lives were threatened to do what they did. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not going to sit here and make a judgment on that. But there's going to be a far more convoluted picture that comes out in the long run. But a lot of these people are just sick, just sick demons who did it all for selfish purposes, for selfish reasons. And yeah, it's hard. Who do we go to seek justice in this? Well, I think the military are going to the good military are going to come into play. Much like everything, there is good and there's bad on both sides. And I do believe there are cohorts of good military that will come into play. The Q thing, people are suddenly going to start going, all of us who were calling you all Q-tards, we're going to have to give you an apology soon when we realise that you guys are right all along and what you've been telling us is genuine. That will be quite an interesting moment because there's people even on our side of the freedom movement who've given me so much shit about the fact that I've said, look, there's something in this Q thing. There is something here. Read the drops, figure out for yourself what you think. And I took a lot of abuse early on with that one, and I've kept all their names, and I'm going to see if they'll at any point eat humble pie. Don't know, too many egos still at play, but we'll see. So there is an element in me today of I told you so. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to get it out there now. I told you so. So there we go. Got it off my chest. So what we're going to see is a convergence of truth, a convergence of reality, and a convergence of scare events, fear events, because the normies are going to be woken up in their masses. And a lot of people say, "Oh, they'll never wake up." They will wake up, but it has to be a controlled demolition. If it's not a controlled demolition, like I say, you risk societal collapse. Can you imagine how, think back to COVID, how insane people got over a virus? I say a virus, I'm going to call it a virus for the sake of arguments. So they got insane over a virus, and we're having this toilet roll rush and everything else. How the heck do you think they're going to feel when all these truths, backed by evidence, come out in reality? Yeah, things could get ugly. And it is going to be down to us, those that are awakened, to help manage that and help people go through that grief and that healing process that needs to come, because that's essential for all of us. Like I say, if you want to be selfish about it, and there's a lot of people out there say, screw the normies, fuck the normies. I get it. I do get where you're coming from. But a large number of them need to heal. Or society is going to look really tricky. And there's not a lot we can do about that. That is the reality, and we've got to work with that. So, what do I think has been going on? Well, I think this is a 3,000-year-old issue, if not potentially longer. We don't know the truth, the full truth about where we come from, why we're here, what we're doing here. I have a number of theories, and I'll happily do a podcast on that another day, as to why we're here and what our purpose is. And I think for some of us it looks different. I think that looks different, and that's okay. That's fine. We've all got a role to play. People don't realize that, but we've all got a role to play, and one is as equally as important as the next. Please don't allow people to have a superiority complex here, because that could easily happen. But it will be the anons who come out sparkling in this, because we're just regular people. No, I can't see many of the genuine anons who've tried to make this about them or make themselves loads of money. If you look at the genuine anons who were there at 2017 and are still fighting now, they're doing it because it's the right thing to do. It's as pure and simple as that. And I will always stand shoulder to shoulder with anyone who is doing it just because it's the right thing to do. Um, so about 3,000 years ago, the Romans kicked the Jews out of the Holy Lands because of their behaviors. And that grudge has never gone. That grudge has never gone from the Jewish mafia, as I call them. They still resent it now. And so retaliation has been really at the forefront of what a lot they've done. So if you look when the Talmud was written, it came out to counter the New Testament. They hate Jesus. And you've got to ask yourself where that comes from. So I personally think, and this I could be really wrong on this, so I'm keeping an open mind. This is based on mine and others' research, and it's the one that makes the most sense to me that Yahweh, who the Jews followed and worshipped in the Old Testament in the Hebrew Bible, I think was effectively Satan. And I think that's why we've seen the behaviors we've seen over the centuries coming from that cohort. And a lot of people say, oh, you're an anti Semite. No, I'm not an anti Semite. I'm not an anti Semite at all. I'm just going to say it as I see it. And if that upsets anyone, I'm terribly sorry. I think much like Muslims, much like Christians, much like others, I think Jewish people have been brainwashed. I think so many people have been brainwashed. Mur the Muslims, but then the Muslims like mur the Jews. The the regular people across every element of society within life, generally the regular normal people have been brainwashed and are actually probably good people, and they truly believe that they are fighting evil, they're standing up for good. They honestly truly believe that. So please don't go out there and start making judgments of regular people. It's down to them to interpret everything and make their own decisions. The people that I have issue with are the comptrollers, are the ones in the shadows. And we've watched over the years, and we've watched it happen in our own country. I mean, so many people don't realize how much of our political system has been changed to accommodate the Jewish mafia. So much of it. And we could go back again, do a history lesson on this, but there's loads of information out there. So please go digging around and see what you think. But this is nothing new. This has been in within our system for centuries. And there's a reason for that. These people are very wily, very clever. They control the financial systems. They've been able to blackmail and manipulate leadership across all countries for centuries now to furnish their needs. And this is what happened with Adolf Hitler, I believed. And so, no hats off here to Adolf Hitler when I say all this, but I do believe he was in bed with some of the Jewish Zionist leaders because they wanted to create the state of Israel, and they needed a damn good reason to be able to warrant that and bring the British in. And we did all our dodgy stuff as well. This isn't all Adolf Hitler. This isn't all Jewish lobby. There are a number of factors involved, but this is the reason why. And then you look at what Israel have done since they came to fruition in 48, what they've done to their neighbors, what they've done to the world, what they've done to the British, what they've done to the Americans, what they've done to the entire population of the world. And they really do hold many, many keys. And they've done a lot of this through controlling the leadership, and they controlled the leadership through blackmail and manipulation. And the Epstein files is just one element of it. Just one. We're going to see other files coming out from other people. Like I highlighted Richard Branson this morning and others. There'll be loads of them. And if you look at who owns the islands in that area, you'll find a lot of the people who were working directly for the Mossad to blackmail. And we can go on about that as much as we want, but I think we've all got to take a moment and remember what they did to those kids, what they did to those children. And for someone who was very anti-death penalty for many years, when it comes to this stuff, I can't see any other solution, quite honestly. I can't. I know because of my spiritual kind of position, I don't like the idea really of others outside of God making a judgment. But at the same time, I would suggest that we are here to fight evil, and decisions will have to be made. But why should these people get to exist when they're clearly working for the devil? Just my thoughts. However, we're going to see a lot more be unveiled over the coming weeks and months. And really, the Epstein files is scratching the surface, unfortunately. But it's very important that we go there. It's very important that we do this. It's very important that we now badger the mainstream media, that we comment in all of their streams, because normies are going to look at that, particularly on places like Facebook and Instagram and other places like that. A lot of normies, I don't think necessarily are hugely attracted to X as much as maybe some of us. So I think it's time to really go out there and spread the word, because now, once again, it's an evidence-based situation, very much like Operation Tala that I've been talking about. People still don't understand the implications here of what you could do with Tala, but it's all evidenced and it's their evidence. There's no getting around it. There's no shying away from it. The work has been done. The evidence is there. And it's very much the same now with the Epstein files and other things we're going to see coming out. And for those that are slating Trump and going after Trump for being held, controlled by Israel, controlled by the Jewish lobby, I don't believe that's true. We were told in the Q drops that Israel would need to be saved for last, and you can see now why Israel needs to be saved for last, because they are so central. I still think England, we've got a lot to answer for, and there will be repercussions, but Israel has the Samson option, and they hold all of the blackmail keys. They hold bunches of it. And that is obviously, if you don't know what the Samson option is, it's basically something Israel put together some years ago now, whereby they have nukes ready to go in Israel and in other nations that they've kind of planted there through negotiations, so that if they ever feel threatened, they will set these nukes off and destroy the world. So you can't fuck with that. You've got to be smart about that. What is a great way of destabilizing global opinion on Israel? Well, you've just watched the last few years. It's happening. And now with the Epstein files, and we know so much of this goes back to Israel. The world needs to see the truth. And when people come out and go, Muslims, yeah, okay, we've got an issue with Muslims in the UK, for sure. Needs to be dealt with. Want them out and want them out of our politics. Not every single Muslim, but you know what I'm saying. Big chunks need to go and they need to be taken out of our political system. But if you think for a minute that it is the Muslims that have been driving the evil for all of these decades and centuries, yeah, there's bunches of them that are bad. Yes, there is with every people. But if you look at who's been the comptrollers, it comes back to the Jewish lobby and elements of England, elements of the US, other elements of Europe. I mean, people do not even get close to understanding how bad Denmark is, thanks to the Danish royal family. That's a whole other rabbit hole to go down. The Danish royal family, go and look at that, and the business routes and sea routes that were set up. It's a whole other topic, but you do need to really understand all of this stuff. Again, we might need to do a history lesson, which would be a huge podcast. So we're going to have a convergence: banking collapse, Epstein files, UK's position, well, England predominantly, position in all of this, what that looked like, because we're far worse than people want to realise. The control of the mainstream. We just saw Don Lemon get arrested this week, or I think it's yesterday, day before. This type of thing will continue, and they're going to do it bit by bit. We started seeing the truth about the BBC coming out and what they've been involved with, and Trump's going to reveal all of that, and he might well do it through a court case, who knows. There's rumours to think that there will be suddenly an emergency broadcast system that will go off across the world at the same time. And I think personally that's why Musk has bought or created Starlink, is so that if the bad guys shut down all the comms, which they could easily do, everything can remain up and running through Musk. I've always got my question marks through Musk. I'm going to say that right now. But again, it's very important to remember that we actually don't know who the good and bad actors are throughout all of this. It's like I loved watching. So Lutnick works for Trump. He's like his right-hand man. He's one of his envoys and ambassadors, and does a number of things within the White House administration. Mentioned throughout the Epstein files. What, do you think Trump didn't know that? So also the guy he's just put in charge of the Fed yesterday, in charge of the Federal Reserve yesterday, in the Epstein files. You think Trump didn't know that? Bondi connected to Pfizer and various other things. You think he didn't know that? Trump's not stupid. Whatever you think of Trump, he's not a stupid man. He's not a stupid man. And he knows. He knows all of what we're watching roll out. And he has a tendency to put people front and center. And people don't like it when I say that, but I'm like, show me evidence to the contrary. Show me evidence to the contrary. So we don't know who the good and bad actors are. And it's got to be that way because there's got to be an element of chaos and confusion. Otherwise, the other guys, the bad guys, know exactly what's going on. So please keep an open mind. Don't make, people say, oh, so and so's bad and so's bad. Okay, until you provide me with proof, I'm going to keep an open mind. So we know some of the bad actors. I mean, Peter Mandelson, loving how much he's coming up in the Epstein files. So there's going to be certain guys we know are bad, but I think my point being is, just because somebody works for the Trump admin doesn't mean they're good. Just because somebody works for the Trump admin doesn't mean they're bad. This can go on across every government across the world. I think the leadership know. And I think some of the leaderships, it's like when you look, oh, look, who's not in the Epstein files? Well, Russia, North Korea, Iran, China, they're not in the Epstein files, yet they've been painted to be the bad guys for all these years. It's not as cut and dried as people think. There's good and bad on all sides. There really is. But I think my point is keep an open mind because there's going to be a lot more coming, and some of it's going to shock the shit out of us. And for a lot of us who've done the legwork, we're going to just feel really quite pleased that it's all starting to come out because it has to. And it had to be done this way. And it's been slow and it's been painful for those of us awake. But actually, like I said years ago, if you do it too fast, you risk societal collapse. Frustrating as it is, I do believe it's true. So, how are you coping? How are you coping out there? Because there was something in one of the Q drops years ago, and it said, those who know won't sleep. And when you find out about these crimes against children and you really dig and you start hearing the audios and seeing the videos, oh my, what that does to your soul is painful, is painful. And when I first found out just how bad, I mean, I knew going into, I already knew there were networks set up to support child abuse and rape. I knew that. But until the Q drops, I did not know the sheer industrial scale of it. I didn't understand the severity of it. So when it first really hit me and I realized the enormity of what we were dealing with here in terms of things that have been done to children, babies, yeah, I couldn't sleep properly. I couldn't for days and days and days and days and days and days, and to just digest it and wake up every morning and have that imagery or that audio inside your head. It does something to you. And I think this is why the Anons have stayed the course. Because if you look at all the key ones back from 2017, 2018, they're still alive and kicking now. They're still going now. And we haven't wavered. We haven't tired too much. We've really kept going. And that is the reason. It's the kids. Ultimately, it's the kids. And who are you if you don't try and do what you can to fight that? Well, that's down to you as an individual to decide. But for me, I would never have lived with myself if I just shut up. Never. Why would I? Why would I shut up? I have children. Not that that matters, actually. It's irrelevant. I'd have still done it, but it just broke me for a while. I don't even know how I carried on, quite honestly. I don't know how any of us carried on. You find the way, you find the way. But I was very fortunate that I'd already been through hell and back over the years, being awake and a single parent and everything just like collapsing around me at times. And your knees hit the floor. Your knees hit the floor. And for me, I was a single parent with three young children, huge amounts of debt I'd been left in. And it was hard. It was really hard. Found us homeless, a lot. And your knees truly hit the ground. They really, truly hit the ground. And you then have a choice. You either get back up, you put your shoulders back, and you keep on fighting, or you cave to it. You have that choice. No one can take that choice away from you. So, right now, if you're feeling the weight and you're feeling the difficulty of it all, you have a choice. You can either allow yourself to become swamped by it. That's not to say you don't allow yourself a little time to grieve. You do. But how long do you really stay in that space for before you get back up and you realize you have a role to play? You have the strength to do something, even if it's sharing tweets and talking about it out in the big wide world. You have the power to choose what you do next. So you can, and I very much take this across the board, apart from what I call genuine real victims, i.e. those of, abuse and rape, real victims, those who've lost parents at a young age, things like that. That's true trauma. But I'm seeing a lot of people feeling like they're suffering right now. And I think one of the main things people miss is gratitude, because most of us have a lot more than others. We do. I don't have a pot to piss in. I don't have anything materialistic, but I've got my health. I've got a roof over my head. I've got clothes on my back. I've got the ability to clean myself, to feed my children, to hydrate them, to keep them healthy, to be able to love them openly, and to be in a society whereby, believe it or not, I am free. I am free. It's this, by the way. This is what makes you free, not what society tells you you can have. But you can allow yourself to be drowning in it all and suffering it all and see yourself as a victim. Or believe it or not, you can choose not to. You can choose not to be a victim. You can embrace gratitude and remind yourself you're actually not a victim. And you don't need to act like a victim. You don't need to pretend you're a victim, because we've been so led down the path to focus on the self, to focus on how we feel, to focus on us. Doesn't mean you don't do an element of that, but don't let it become you. Don't allow it to become you, because there are people out there so much worse off than you. Can bet your bottom dollar. There are people out there in the world worse off than you. So be grateful for what you do have. That's my tip number one. That's the first thing I wake up each day and I give thanks. Thank you. I'm awake. I have a body that functions. I have a mind that functions. I have a roof over my head. I live in a beautiful part of the world. I can go downstairs and feed myself. I can go in the shower and wash myself. Okay, that might seem small, but how? Wow. When you think about where so many others in the world are, I've got so much to be thankful for. So I do it. Leaning into the victim thing slightly is this stoic approach to life. You can either embrace it and push yourself through it and pull yourself out the darkness and do all of it yourself, which you are more than capable of doing. You are stronger than you realize. And what's it? Somebody said, you only realize how strong you are when you don't have any other option, with words to that effect. But it's true. So you can choose to be a victim, or you can choose not to be a victim. And you can face the adversity and difficulties of the day in a certain mindset. And you get to choose what that is. You get to choose who impacts and infiltrates your energy field and who doesn't. I was speaking to a friend the other day, and she was very sensitive, lovely, wonderful, kind human being, one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. And she was worried about how someone was feeling, treating her the other day. She was getting agitated by it. They're not a very nice person, and she was worrying about things that haven't happened yet. That's another thing we do. We worry about things that haven't even happened yet. Particularly, I think us ladies, I think we have a tendency to do that. Doesn't serve us, so don't do it. Take control of this. But she was saying how she was getting impacted in that. And I said, what she thinks of you is none of your business, for a start, because it isn't. It's none of your business what they think of you. It's not your problem. It's not your issue. Get on with life. The other thing is you can allow that energy to impact your field. You can allow that to happen. Do you know what you can also do? You can allow for it to not impact your field. You get to choose. You get to choose. Now, this is something I've had to learn the really hard way. So, whilst I'm stood here being kind of dictatorial about it, believe you me, I've had to learn the hard way. And I'd rather you guys sidestep those landmines than walk through them when it might not even be necessary for you to do that in order to heal and to cope with what's going on and to feel positive and vibrant and full of joy. That is all possible, and it's actively encouraged right now, because believe you me, with this information coming out, and as things go along over the next few weeks and months and so forth, as more truths come out, you'll notice within the normie world that, the lush will be provided. People's energies are going to be impacted. Their vibe is going to be really low. Their frequency be really low. And actually, it's up to us to raise that vibration, because I believe all of us, including animals and so forth, we create a vibration, we create an energy field in this world, and we could get to choose what that looks like. So I am going to vibe high. I'm going to be absolutely vibing high, because A, it serves me well, it serves my family well, but B, it will serve the people around me, and it will just help raise the frequency from what is going to be potentially a plummeting frequency and vibration. Um, and so when I'm saying hold the line and things like that, this is what I'm on about. This is the sort of thing I mean. Don't allow what's going on externally to keep you in a dark place for very long. Choose to seek the light, choose to walk out of it, choose to change your own mindset. Everything I've done over the years, going from somebody who was on the floor, almost crippled with fear and trauma, to becoming somebody who I can literally have pretty much anything thrown my way, including unfortunately people being ill and other things like that. And I'm able to retain a high vibe. It doesn't happen overnight, it takes a bit of work, but start now, because actually you're in a really great point in history with which to aim to do that. Because if you can beat it now, you can beat it any time, and I'd suggest you do so. But again, it's a choice. Don't think you don't have a choice. You absolutely get to choose where your mindset is at. You absolutely get to choose where your energy field is at. You can wake up in the morning and choose how your day is going to go, because it's up here, it's in here. This is the thing that counts. It isn't about what the world does to you externally, it's how you choose to respond to it. So you can choose to respond with dire kind of woe is me, woe is the world, it's all so bad, or you can actually choose to vibe with thank goodness the truth is coming out. We're all going to have a role in play in healing this world as a result, and seeking justice. And then we get involved with building the new, because the old is crumbling and the new will be built. And we get to choose how to create that and what that looks like. So the leadership, if you want a better term, moving forward, I believe will be made up of people who've actually done the work, who understand what needs to happen, and are genuinely, authentically here to help their country and the world. I've got no problem with the rest of the world. I want to help everyone, but are genuinely here to help save their country and heal their country and build the new. And we're going to need loads of you guys geared up, ready to do that. So if you're in a process right now where emotionally or spiritually things are feeling really heavy and dark, focus and work on getting yourself into the light. And you can do that. And there's so many different ways to do that. So to give you an example of what that would look like on the day to day for me, and I've really stepped up in 2026 as well. I've kind of doubled my efforts because I knew we'd be entering into this sort of a period quicker than I expected, but we're entering into this sort of a period. So I get up in the morning, I give thanks immediately, give thanks. I do it through prayer. That's how I do it. But I'm not going to tell you how you do that. That you find what works for you. But I lie in my bed and I pray and I give thanks. And I also kind of set an intention for how I want my day to go. And I talk about that with God. But again, you do what works for you. So I'm already in a positive mindset. I'm already starting the day before I've even got out of bed with a smile on my face. Do you know how much of a difference that makes to your day? Now, for some people, they could put on a certain lighting, it could be you put on certain music, whatever lifts your spirits. Excuse me, start with that. So for me, I've got my little red salt lamp I put on, really nice, gentle lighting. As I start my day slowly, because it's not light when I wake up. I wake up at 5 something usually. So still dark at the moment. So I put on my little red light, the salt lamp, and then I get my red light therapy out and I have a quick 10 minutes on that. Really raises my vibration. I don't know why or how, but it makes me feel good. I make sure that I hydrate straight away with good quality fluids, because not only is it helping me physically, but mentally, I know I'm doing myself a favor having that mug of bone broth that I've just made, or having one of my clove tea, whatever it might be. I'm starting the day like that. So I try and hydrate with health. And so, again, you're getting to the right mindset as soon as you're starting your day. And if you need to get up earlier to do this, trust me, it's worth the time. I do my little lymphatic drainage exercises, 10 minutes. It's not a big deal. I probably should do more, but I don't. I get my lymphatic brush out and I do my face, and it feels like a little treat thing. It's doing me good. But actually, psychologically, it's doing me amazing because I love how it feels. I love the results of it. It makes me feel good. And I'm doing myself a service. With my children, I don't allow their vibe or their energy to bring me down in the morning anymore if they wake up grumpy teenagers. I don't. I used to, because I'm a mum. I'm impacted by how my kids feel. But I've trained myself at that time of day to not allow them to penetrate my energy field too much. Occasionally it's tough, but it's a good lesson to remind myself how and what to do. I now, since start 2026, well, it's actually a little bit before, I'm making sure I'm eating whole field foods, that as many of them as I can source locally, I will, or produce myself, I will, or get from neighbors, I will. Not always. easy. I don't have a big income at all, but we do our best. And every time you do a little something, it helps. I make sure I supplement really well every day until my diet's fully sorted with the right foods. I supplement at the moment. I feel good doing that for myself. Throughout the day, I get on my little mini trampoline if I need a minute, and I just get on there and I jump away, and it's really good for me mentally as well as physically. Um, if for some reason there's a bit of overwhelm in my own life, something may be going on that's not feeling good, I'll step away from the socials. I won't overwhelm myself with too much negativity to manage at once. Make things manageable for yourself. And again, having now mentally practiced over and over and over and over, and I cannot tell you how many years I've been doing this, negative thought comes in. Okay, how do we turn that around? How do we make that look different? How do we take that as a blessing? How do we take that as a lesson? How do we take that as an opportunity to try something new? How do we take that as an opportunity and accept the fact that this is actually a lesson for somebody else, and it might be somebody we love? So we just have to be there to support it. Everything you do, if it's negative or bad, turn it around, because you're still more blessed than most. You're still more blessed than most. So take whatever that negativity is and turn it upside down. So often, particularly with women, like I say, we sit and worry about things that haven't even happened yet. Is that serving us? Is it? Or can we wipe that off and say to ourselves, hang on a minute, this hasn't even happened. Why am I worrying about this? Okay, you might want to process something and think, well, if XYZ happens, I'll respond this way. Okay. And then put it to bed. Don't sit with it. We have a tendency to sit with our shit, let's be honest. We do. Um, as the day goes on, I carry on treating myself with love, and those around me. Even if I'm in the foulest of moods now, once upon a time, and I caught myself doing it this morning. I stood in co-op. I had to grab something for somebody next door, and there was a gentleman in front of me. He was incredibly slow, and there was a woman in front of me who was equally as slow. And I was in a rush, and I could feel the irritation start to set in. I was like, hurry up. And I could feel it setting in. And then I looked a little bit closer, and the first gentleman, was clearly, there was some sort of um, mental disability there. So, hey, thank goodness I don't have to cope with that each day. Thank you, Lord, I don't have to cope with that each day. And then the woman in front of me was faffing about her bag and taking forever. Um, it turned out that she had a physical disability. And I thought, my blessings, I don't have to deal with that. You know, and it completely changed my mindset, and I ended up wanting to help them both. And it just can look really different and change your mindset. Rather than walking out that shop irritated and annoyed that I was running late, I walked out that shop feeling so blessed by what I do have and what I don't have to struggle with on a daily basis. And that's just one small example. So actually take the time to, because it's not that you're doing someone else a favor, you're doing yourself a favor. So everyone else is getting on in their own little world. They're not worried about you. Do yourself a favor and get into the mental, physical, spiritual space where you're full of joy, where you are full of joy. So something happened to me between Christmas and New Year. Don't even know what it was. I do believe it was something energetic, something spiritual. But I'd already made up my mind that in 26, I was going to step back from socials a bit, and I was going to focus much more on myself. And again, healing myself, making sure I was in the right space for what was coming. I was feeling strong enough, because, life does knock you about, but it's how you respond. Again, it is how you respond that matters. And something happened to me. And spiritually, I did become closer to the Lord. I spent a lot of time over Christmas focusing on that, because for me, that is an answer to helping me deal with whatever's coming this year. To each their own. I'm not dictating. You do you. And I just woke up full of joy. And I've woken up full of joy virtually every day since. And I mean proper joy, like childhood joy, that true happiness when you've got no worries in the world, you feel completely free. You've got loving people around you, and everything's so simple. Everything's so simple. And so I don't know what it was. I'm fostering it, and I'm growing it, because I want to retain this level of joy. And I say joy in a sense, it's not like I'm bouncing off walls or anything else. It's a joyous contentment, a joyous contentment. And I definitely feel like anything thrown at me now, I can handle. And I had, there's odd days that are a bit wobbly, but then maybe lean into people you know and trust if you need that element of support. But ultimately, your healing is your responsibility. Nobody else's. Nobody is here to do it for you. We sure as heck should help each other, but it's ultimately your responsibility to heal. And again, you can either choose to be a victim or you don't. That is down to you. Everything is a choice. You have free will. How you wish to conduct yourself and manage what is coming at you is down to you. But I still feel very optimistic. I am still not seeing anything that shocks me. I'm still not seeing anything that makes me think, oh my gosh, we are in trouble. Not even close. Not even close. And I wish more people had read the Q drops, because whilst I've still got some question marks and some things going on in relation to that, it was a psychological operation, etc., etc. Absolutely, it was, and it had to be, because when you're mentally trying to undo the brainwashing of decades old, you have to use some of the same tactics. Because the bad guys, I did a comment on this as well with the NLP. The bad guys adopted techniques that worked. Their techniques worked. So how do you counter that? Well, you adopt some of the same techniques, but your energy and your intention and everything else looks different. So this was all talked about in the Q drops, and if people had read that, they wouldn't be feeling fearful right now at all. Because again, if you look at the anons, don't just take my word for it. Go and look at the anons. Are any of them shocked? Even one of the ones, like from who's been around the last 10 years or whatever, any of them shocked? Not one of them. Not one of them is shocked, because this is all rolling out as we expected. Now we need to start talking about other things as well. And I don't know if this is going to blow everyone's mind, but if Q was right, how was Q right from 2017 about what is happening today? Like literally to the day. If you look at some of the deltas, they literally drop on that day. And by deltas, what I mean was, say something was put out on the 12th of December, and then 6 years later, the exact issue comes up on the 12th of December. How does that happen? Well, unfortunately, too many people are still in a state where they're not ready to expand their mind. But for those of you that are already in that position, some of you would have discovered it anyway. But you need to look at things like looking glass. You might hear of it is referred to as the looking glass, or Alice's looking glass. You might understand things like time travel. You might understand things to do with quantum physics. It might be to do with there's other terminology, other things that can be used, other ways of looking at it, like portals and so forth. But to ignore the fact that some have the ability to see into the future, whether that's through time travel, whether that's through some sort of portal looking glass scenario. We know the CIA have now released documents stating this stuff was going on. So we know that it's achievable. So you have to ask yourself, how did Q know? And then that opens up a whole other plethora of potential rabbit holes to go down, which I know a bunch of you have already done. But if you haven't, go and start looking into that. How is that even possible? And where does this all go back to? And what was that Sumerian technology from centuries ago? And why is that relevant now? Go and do the research if you haven't done it, because the more you know, the more empowered you'll feel. Knowledge is power. And I'm not saying we adopt it and use it for bad, but to feel more powerful in and of yourself, to take a position of standing in truth and integrity, then the more knowledge you have, the better, because it will just reinforce your strength of belief. Although I will hasten to say this now, as time goes on, the more and more I realize how little I actually know. And I think we all should be a little humbled to appreciate the fact that actually what we know is very little. And in the fullness of time, that will all come to be revealed. I do believe that, certainly the vast majority. But yeah, we could all do with staying a little humble, overall. So, whole plethora of stuff still to come. These Epstein files is just scratching the surface of what is due to come out. But if you want to be one of these people who helps others, you've got to fix yourself first, get yourself into the right mindset, make sure you're feeling strong and independent and sure of yourself, in the sense that you're doing what you believe to be right for humanity, for the world, for all living creatures, not just humans by any stretch. I'm here for the animals as well. Sorry, guys, but I am just equally here for the animals as well. So, yeah, do your research, but really focus on your mindset. If you're struggling and feeling like you're a victim, I expect very few of you are really victims, really, truly what I would class as victims. You're just caught in the crossfires. So pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get back in the fight. And if you have to take a little bit of time out, absolutely take some time out. So totally take some time out and heal yourself. Start looking at stoicism. You know, I mean, people say to me, "How have you stayed sane for the last 20 odd years?" And at some points, I said maybe I nearly wasn't. But the main thing for me was God and having a stoic approach to life. Those were the two things that fundamentally kept me fine. I could either choose to be a victim or I didn't. And I could either choose to take joy in what was put in front of me or I didn't. Or I could either choose to try and follow in Jesus's footsteps as me as an individual person, as my choice, or I didn't. And so I had a choice to make on all fronts. You have a choice to make on all fronts. No one's taken that away from you. No one can take that away from you because it's internal. Nobody can do that, bar killing you. Nobody can do that. So start to understand you're not a victim. Start to understand you absolutely have the power to control this and to control this. And I'm pointing to my heart if you can't see, sorry. And absolutely understand that you can play a leadership role in the healing of the people of this planet. And that's a choice you can make. You can either sit in your resentment and anger with other people. And don't get me wrong, I get frustrated, I get pissed off, I totally get it. But we can either sit in a real place of resentment and anger, which doesn't serve anyone, including ourselves, or we can flip the switch and sit in a place of contentment and joy and healing and happiness and a desire to help others, a desire to do good, a desire to devote some of our lives to helping heal our country. I mean, you have a choice to make, and which one do you choose? So, anyway, I know I'm doing my usual. I'm firing off in all directions. This is probably why I should try and do a structured podcast, but let's face it, it's really not my way. I can fight that if I try, but let's be honest, it's just not my way. I fly by the seat of my pants and I work with my intuition, which is what I've always done. And that's another thing. Listen to your intuition. Let's call it your intuition, your gut feeling, the Holy Spirit, whatever works for you. Listen to it. Don't fight it. My experience personally is that if I ignore it, things don't always go so well. So I've learned over the years to refine listening to what I say. Going back to my daily plan, something else I do, and I've talked about this an awful lot because it is so important to me. And I do, by the way, magnesium oil, stick it on your feet at night, really helpful. But one of the other things I do is I put time aside every single evening without fail, even if it's just half an hour when I sit and it's either in silence or with just some very quiet, relaxing music on, maybe just a candle, or maybe with just my little light red light. And I sit and process, be it the day, be it things I've heard, be it some feelings I've had, be it manifesting things for the future. I do it all through prayer, but I just sit quietly and almost in silence. And I just allow, it's like meditation, just allow the thoughts to go through, just pass through. Don't sit there with it for too long. Don't cling on to it. Let it just pass through. And it's incredibly healing and strengthening, incredibly healing and strengthening. And it really does teach you who you are. You know, learn your own thoughts, learn who you are, accept your strengths and weaknesses. You know, that's another thing. Deal with the ego, man. Just deal with the ego. It's a constant, it don't go away, and we all need egos in which to survive. But how much does your ego control you? How often do you ever admit you're wrong? How often would you be humble to say, I'm sorry, I was totally out of line there, I shouldn't have done that? There's nothing wrong with doing any of that. In fact, I'd say it makes you a more advanced, in your emotionally advanced person or something, because none of us is perfect. We are only human. We're utterly imperfect, but it's how we respond with our own behaviors. And when we do things wrong or when we say things out of line, how actually do we respond? Have we apologized? Have we allowed our ego and our whatever to get in the way? You know, really focus on working on that as well. But we're heading into convergence in 2026. Everything's becoming in at all angles at once. So prepare yourself. Make sure you're feeling solid. Make sure you're feeling content. Make sure you're feeling healthy and positive and vibrant and energetic and pulsating with positive energy. That's what you want to get to. That's where you raise your vibration. I'm waking up, like I say, in absolute joy each morning. I give thanks for it every single day because What a way to live. How exciting is that? My 2026 has been insanely good so far, on a personal level and with what I'm seeing roll out. I practice it daily. I live it. I don't just practice it, I live it. Live your truth, live in your integrity, and live in your contentment and joy. And it takes a bit of practice, but do it every single day. I just wish more people would do this stuff. And don't forget, we've got food, you've got kind of this whole spiritual stuff that's going on out in the world, be it through the Schumann resonance, be it through the moons, be it through all sorts, whether you want to believe any of it or not, it all impacts how we feel. I do believe there'll be a convergence of a point where human consciousness will very suddenly go through the roof. And I think that's going to be part of how the normies get woken up. I do think there will be a consciousness event, I think in 2026, and it'll all happen very, very quickly. And I think that the bad guys getting taken down will happen very quickly, but equally, I think that consciousness raise will happen quite swiftly, but through, if you like, the majority of people on the planet. We will see. This is just what I'm seeing happen. And I think we need to understand our own abilities. I think humans are capable of far more than we realize. But getting control of your energy field is one of them. Getting control of your moods, your feelings, your heart, your soul, and your mind. You know, for so long our minds were controlled. Take back full control of your mind. It is yours, and you get to choose how that looks. So yeah, don't stress, don't panic, don't worry. Everything is rolling out as it should. The truth is coming out thick and fast now. The consciousness of the world is changing and shifting. The energy is changing and shifting. None of us Anons are remotely concerned. Anons are literally buzzing right now. Whilst we're dealing with what is horrific material, we all believe that that's been done and dusted, that the majority of that, vast majority of that's not going on at all. It's all been dealt with. This is now for normies waking up. So it is very dark material we're dealing with here. It, like, as dark as it can get, really, when it involves children and babies. I mean, for goodness sakes, it doesn't really get darker. So we are dealing with dark material here. But you'll see the Anons are all vibing high because we've wanted the unveiling of this for so many years, and we're seeing it happen in real time. And I don't know if you haven't spent 10 years or more in this space, then you might not be able to fully appreciate just how important this feels for those of us who were shouting about it so long ago. And one day you'll feel the same way about the jabs. When the truth of the jabs comes out, this element of relief and joy at finally reaching a certain point in, the truth is so significant. It's so significant. So you won't find many Anons feeling down this weekend. And whilst, yes, I appreciate the material that you are, you know, loads of you know it, but there's lots of you who don't. So that material that you're currently absorbing to do with the Epstein files, yes, it will get worse before it gets better. You will feel the impact at a soul level once you start really absorbing it. And I mean, like I say, videos and audios, don't actually even go there if you don't have to, because I'd like you to trust me on this one. This is one I'd like you to trust me on. You don't need to hear them or see them, to understand just how soul destroying they actually are, because they are, and there's no getting around it. And so it will feel dark for a while, but you still get to choose how you respond. You still get to choose how you grieve. You still get to choose how you heal. You still get to choose how you move forward. It is your choice. And you can either let their energy control you, or you can create your own energy field and fill it with joy and happiness and positivity and love and all of the other things that genuinely will make a difference to your life and how you cope with moving forward. Do not let it drown you. It could, and I would empathize with that, but do not let it drown you. We have to be strong. We have to move forward. We have to be here to heal the world. That is going to be one of the most important things you will ever, ever, ever do in your entire life. Bar my children, it is by far and away the most important thing I've ever done in my life. Fuck all my career stuff. None of that matters. This is what matters. This is reality. This is what has been going on. This is where the evil needs to be destroyed. And one of the ways we do that is raising our vibration. And the only way you can raise your vibration is if you're healed and you've been, I mean, don't get me wrong, we heal forever, but if you're fully healed as far as you can be at this point, and you've done the work on yourself to raise your vibration, it is by far and away one of the most important things that you can do, because you are going to be needed moving forward. We've all got a role to play, and you are here at this moment for a reason, and you've been awoken for a reason. And it's up to you to discover what your reason is. No one else, you. And you do that through the internal work. Do it now before it's too late, because no offense, but if we haven't sorted ourselves out, we're no good to other people. And if you haven't, it will come back and bite you on the arse. It will. I've seen it so many times. Do the work now. Heal yourself. Find joy in each day. Get up with a high vibe each day. It will filtrate out into the rest of the world. The darkness isn't over. The darkness is going to start to feel heavier. There is going to be more shit coming out. Well, it feels heavier for those that aren't expecting it. For the rest of us, it's like, whoa. But for the rest of you who aren't completely sure yet, there will feel like a heaviness and darkness. You won't know what's going to be the way out of this. The paths have already been laid. No, the paths have been laid. Half the work is already done. It's been done 10 years ago. We are now seeing the aftermath. We're now seeing the unveiling. Everything is aligning all at the same time. If you look around you, from whether you do like the horoscope side, whether you do the spiritual side, whether you do look at crypto and banking, whatever you're looking at, everything is converging at once, and it has to. This is absolutely how I envisage things rolling out. And I haven't been all that wrong yet, timing wise, maybe. But I haven't, in point of fact, I've not actually been that wrong yet. And when we come through the other side of this, once the world has woken up, we then need to build the new decentralized system for we, the people, a system they cannot easily corrupt, a system that we, the people, control, one that works for us, doesn't force us into this 9 to 5, Monday to Friday bullshit of a life. That isn't living, that's existing. Just get excited, but that is going to change, and it's going to change dramatically, and it's going to change in our favor, and our children and our grandchildren are going to lead far more simpler, happier, more content, healthy lives than we did or our parents did. So everything is good, everything is wonderful, in fact, and you might not see that, but I'd encourage you to look for it, because it is all there. And make sure you do what you do to raise your vibration each and every single day. I want everyone waking up with the contentment and joy that I feel. Like I say, I've got nothing materialistically. I have nothing materialistically. I've not had the money. I've been on this bloody gravy train for years. So my career was put to the side and I've never picked it back up. But my goodness me, I feel amazing. I feel incredible. I have, like, if you could see my energy, I'm sure it would just be coming out of me in sparks and big white lights, not because I'm angelic or anything. I'm just saying in terms of the joy that's coming out of me. And I'm loving this. I am loving this. I've been waiting a long time for this. I want everyone else to feel the same way. I want everyone to reach that space where each and every day they feel that joy. And it doesn't matter what the news is throwing them. It doesn't matter what comes up in X. It will not deplete your energies. It will not deplete your vibration. You'll keep vibing high through all of it. And that is what is needed at this moment in history. You are here for a reason, and you've been woken up for a reason. Find out what that reason is and lean into it. We've all got our strengths and weaknesses. Like I say, ID what your weaknesses and ID what your strengths. And there's no fault in having weaknesses. We've all flipping got them. It'd be really boring if we're all the same. So we need to embrace what we do have and offer it out into the world freely to support everyone through what is just about to come down the line, or what is actually now coming down the line. It's pretty much here, really. So 2026 could feel insane and dark at times, but it also could feel so light and so beautiful. And I think everything will happen quite quickly. Now that it's started, I think we're going to see within the next month or so some major bombs dropping. So try this weekend focusing on joy, focusing on love for yourself, because then it will reverberate out into the world. And understand that there's so many things that we don't know. There are so many things that look good but are bad, and there's so many things that are bad that are actually look bad that are actually good. And we don't have all the answers. We don't know, but Anons know enough to know that right now there's nothing that looks strange to us. It literally looks like how we expected it. But like I say, apart from timings, there's nothing of shock here. So if we were right for the last 10 years, because we did the legwork, it might be worth listening to what some of us say, because actually we've just had the advantage of time. We've had the advantage to take our time to figure things out and to think about things and understand how things are likely to roll out and why, and discover how much we don't yet know. But we're so excited for the answers coming, and I am in no doubt they'll come. This is a time of revelation. Whatever angle you look from, it's a time of revelation. So anyway, I've warbled on a lot this morning, and I am really sorry I don't bother to do structured podcasts. I don't really have the time, but I will always be honest with you, and I always speak from my place of integrity and my place of knowledge, forever poor that is, or based on my experience. And yes, things feel dark, and yes, you're going to hear some heinous stuff, but you have to. Yes, you're going to see people around you suffering. Just remember, everyone has free will, including you. And we have the power to manage the choices that are put in front of us. And we get to choose how we respond to that. And we get to choose to live in light and contentment and joy, or we choose not to. Do not get me wrong, things come out of left field. But again, how you respond to that is down to you. You know, a loved one being told they've got cancer. That's horrific. That's horrific for anyone position to be in. But you can either look at it from a doom and gloom and a heavy, oh my God, and oh my, the fear, you can allow that to take over you. Or you can say, wow, this is a really great opportunity to help this person heal. Thank goodness they've got cancer, that their body has taken all those toxic cells and put it into one sack, and it's now under control. So how do we now eradicate that sack? How do we now deal with that not happening again? How do we make sure their immunity is power? Take it as an opportunity. It's all choice. It's all personal choice. And the, the decisions we make now will impact how we move forward. And I beg of you all to make the right choices for you, which will ultimately make the right choices for those around you, and to raise your vibration. Don't let anyone impact your energy field, and understand that if you come from a place of integrity and love, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Don't panic by what's coming down the line. Don't allow it to overwhelm you. Like I say, if you're really nervous, find an anon, because the anons who've been on it since like 2017, 2018, these guys are the genuine, authentic ones who've done the legwork. And unless you see them panic, don't panic. You're going to understand that there's good and bad actors on both sides, and we don't really know who's who. Like I said, I can pick holes in Trump. I could sit here and pick holes in Trump. But ultimately, I think he's a force for good. And as long as he reveals Israel, even at the very end, or Israel is certainly he's helped reveal Israel, then I'm good. I'm good with that. For me, it is one of the biggest issues, and it does have to be dealt with very, very swiftly. But anyway, I'm gabbling on because I'm excited and just pumping, and I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Take some time for you, put aside that alone time, put aside that reflection time. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, even if you have to leave yourself a note, wake up and give thanks. Show gratitude for what you do have, not what you don't have, for what you do have. And that will just grow exponentially. I'm living proof of it. Honestly, life's really good, and I've worked really hard at this, but I'm now in a place where I'm like, oh wow, totally happy with everything. So God bless you all. You are warriors for truth, even if you don't know it yet. You will find your ways to manage what's coming down the track, and you will step up and find your role in this. And you are taking part in one of the most monumental moments in human history that will ever be written about. And I think we are going to see the eradication of so much evil and so much darkness. I don't know that it ever disappears completely. I feel like the world needs balance, right or wrong. And the human struggle is a part of our existence, but it's how with which we do that that matters. So God bless, lots of love, and I'll hopefully be back really, really soon.